What's shaking, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another lucky dip, and this is another one provided by a friend of the channel, Mikey, who has shared a great deal of music, not only the run of lucky dips that I've been going through from his collection, but also the Ace of Base material, as well as some garbage material, and that is a proper noun. But yes, we're going to listen to a tune by Aqua, not a group I'm familiar with, and the track is called How Are You Doin'? And RU is written with the letters, not unlike a Prince song. I've noticed as I've gone through Prince's catalog, which reminds me I do have to get back to that journey sometime soon. It's been paused since before the holiday break, but the point is, a lot of his songs have those modern text message or like social media post type abbreviations, which back in the 80s and 90s I would imagine were less common than they've become in our public social discourse. So I'm always amused when I see that type of writing. But yes, are you doing or are you doing, like written out as words, I feel like the meaning is certainly the same, or at least on the surface of it one would be inclined to see it the same. It's an inquiry into the state, emotional, mental, psychological, of another person, and how are you doing is different from what are you doing in terms of it's about what's internal, not external. So I do wonder what the context is, whether we get a reply, whether this is more in a positive vein. Someone could use the phrase as a greeting where it's not even so much about what or how the other person is doing, but more about giving a nicety or a opening phrase to a larger conversation. So I wonder not only the scope of the phrase, but also the coloring, emotional coloring of the phrase. So I'll see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Aqua, the track is How Are You Doin'? And it's a lucky dip provided by a friend of the channel, Mikey.
How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing?
It's time to do it. It's time to tell us how to cure it. We gonna pop what's in the bottle, gonna rock what's in the shuttle. All our love, we gonna spread it. How are you doing?
Hey girls, let's get it on till we got it. Gotta lose the distance that we got until we rock it. Tonight we gonna share a secret invitation. Love generation.
Yeah, so number one, I like the cheekiness of using a like 90s computer vocal type of sample or affecting a vocal recording in that way so it sounds like the old AOL greeting or something like that. Secondarily, I just reacted to a tune by The Grid, which, if you didn't know, is Dave Ball from Soft Cell with a different producer, Richard Norris, after Soft Cell broke up in their original run. And it's very electronic, very dance floor, but mixed with maybe a bit of like synth pop sensibility. But I just reacted to a tune of theirs called Intergalactic, and in that tune it's like in Spanish, but it's talking like to the boys and girls, here's some spicy music, like here's this electronic music for you to listen to. The themes here seem a little more varied and slightly tweaked from that, but I couldn't help but think of that because it's saying like, how are you doing, boy? How are you doing, girl? We're gonna party tonight, so get ready to pop the liquid, which sounds like we're talking popping champagne. Of course, I feel like you could take lines like that, and there were a handful of other lines in the track that were similar in terms of you could take them on different levels or more literally, more figuratively. But it sounds like it's an entreaty. It sounds like, hey, we're going to have fun tonight, and this is what our generation's about, feeling the music, feeling the love, and being part of this party, which can be specifically like a dance event, but also a party in terms of the emotional character of the music and the feeling you get when you're vibing with it and other people who are enjoying it. So I couldn't help but think of that tune, Intergalactica. Nevertheless, I do like a lot of the sonics. It feels like there's a mixture of like trance-like sonics. There were some melodies and that swooshing like crescendo that leads into the drops. That's all very trance-like, but then the beat itself was more maybe like in the house dance type of realm, but then that sort of deep and funky kind of bass line, that reminded me of a genre that I don't even know if people make this or use this term anymore, but back in the 90s it was often seen as like a sub-genre or a like side genre of house, which is speed garage, because it had these like funky bass lines and a bit more of a like driving drum type of characteristics. So it felt like there were some different electronic genres brought together here. I liked the different vocalists. I don't know if there was more than one male vocalist, but there was one vocalist, a male vocalist, who sort of had this almost like reggae style. It wasn't like fully reggae style, but the rhythms with which he sung his lines had a bit of a reggae flavor. I do like the high female voice as well, especially in contrast with the other voices. Like it felt like it was going back and forth. And if you have a song where you're addressing both boys and girls, trying to get them to come into this party and to attend and to feel the love of the music, then it makes sense to have both a male and female vocal. So yeah, it's a fun tune. I feel like it's the kind of tune that you listen to when you're getting ready to go to some sort of event, when you're driving to a party and you want to get the fun, energetic vibes going. So yeah, a cool tune, one to listen to in a good mood. And the question, I suppose it is asking how people are feeling or how they're doing and if they're ready for something, but it's almost more an invitation. It's almost like a rhetorical question, like, how you doing? If you're ready, come with us, hear this tonight, enjoy it, embrace the music, embrace the love. So the question turned out to be slightly different from either of the scenarios I considered in advance. Once again, shout out to Mikey. More lucky dips from him coming. Let me know what you think of this one, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.